You should have something come up saying,
Yeah, I do okay.
oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, the only thing I was so yeah, one of the things that I wanted to do was just make sure that I had a really good, clear way to put it as far as what we, as in MACE, we use identities because I think that's one of the real benefits of looking at things differently, right? So
Yeah, that's
somebody
that's
says,
that's a linchpin.
yeah,
It's identities,
yeah,
not the mind. Talking about the mind, forget it.
yeah, that's
Identities
a
is
whole
the thing.
different thing. So if somebody has issues, like I used to have serious rage issues where I would just fly off the handle and
Hmm.
smash things, break things, get really loud, obnoxious.
Correct.
And I didn't ever want to. And that's the thing is we don't ever want to,
Hmm.
but we always find ourselves there, right?
Yeah.
And the cool thing that I really like about Mace is they actually put it in terms of just simple identities. It's not some big, long, drawn out disorder or not even analyzing all the patterns and this and that. It's a negative identity.
Hmm.
And identities, well, they hold all the aspects of all the negatives. And the
Hmm.
identities, because if somebody can understand this, then they're really in that power position. Because one thing I want people to understand when they come to a May session, that the practitioner already knows that the client is in the power position simply because they're deciding to change. You know what I mean? Because it is
Yep.
deciding to change.
Absolutely.
And I'm realizing the better we can prepare people for a session, the easier it is. And one of those things I've realized is when it comes to those negative identities, there's positive and there's negatives, but identities are the various roles that we play. If you're a parent, you play the role of a parent. Everything that that means to you at that time, that's the role. It's just, there's my kid, and that role just kind of, obviously,
Hmm.
you want to do the best parent, right?
That one. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's a role. And the identity of a student in school, whatever that means to you at that time, you play the role of a student.
Yeah.
Even driving a car,
Hmm.
that's an identity, right? Just the driver of a car. If someone drives, that is a driver identity. Now, there's positive ones and there's negative ones, identities, but we only focus in MACE, we're only going to focus on the negatives because that's where all the negative aspects are. The negative identities are the only cause of the stress, phobias, depression, low self esteem, anxiety, compulsive behaviors, anything. It's anything that you, any unwanted feeling, it's just a persistent unwanted feeling, anything that you do not like about your own personality, some habits you have or whatever, anything that you don't like and you want it to change, we just call it a negative identity. It just takes you somewhere you don't want to go. It's like when you feel out of control and you're kind of like, why do I keep having that same result? I
Yeah.
want this to happen, but every single time I always find out in this place where I don't want to be. I react the same way every single time, no matter how hard I try.
Right.
That is the negative identity in control at
Right.
that time.
Right.
Now, those negative identities, they just become part of you. There's there so long, we just think that's just who I am. That's just what I do. I'm just, say, clumsy. And you just think you're clumsy, but it's not the real you. A negative identity is something that was created in a moment of upset, a traumatic event. Like the driver of a car, you intentionally decided, I want to drive. I want for your own survival, whatever mechanism, you wanted to drive. So you decided, I'm going to develop the identity of a driver. So you made a decision to intentionally go through the awkward movements of figuring out how to move your body and hit the brake and the clutch and the steering and all that good stuff. You intentionally decided to go through the awkward moment, to the awkward moments and the awkward movements of learning how to develop the identity of a driver. But because you decided it, you accepted all of the awkwardness that went with it.
Oh, and
And
the
now,
effort.
so it was
Mm-hmm.
intentional. So now when you decide to drive, you just get in the car and your body physically just goes through the motions. It just acts out. I needed the identity of a driver, and it just acts like a driver. You still have to pay attention, of course, but your body physically, the clutch and the brake, or the shifting and the steering and the blinkers and the windshield, it's all automatic now. A negative identity was created accidentally during a moment of stress or a traumatic event. Something that, once that happens, it just triggers and it acts out every single time. That was accidental. The difference between a negative identity and a positive identity is intention. That's part of it. It was negative identities are accidentally created, and you feel like, why do I keep doing that thing that I do? I don't like it. It's because you accidentally did it once. Your whole system just says, do it again. And so because you unintentionally, well, you accidentally created it. It was
Mm-hmm.
unintentional, but you created, like I created that rage that I used to have. But then I was like, well, that's not working. And so through MACE, I was able to find the cause and stop that reaction. And they go, no, that's not where I want to go. And then now that same scenarios happen in life, I'm just not triggered by it. Because life is still going to be life. You're just not going to automatically act out. So intentionally, by the end of a MACE session, the triggers that you unknowingly created are gone, and so you do not have the same reaction. You have a response. So you're
Mm-hmm.
taking your system from unintended reaction to intentional response. So basically, we're going to put you in the driver's seat, per se, of your own body, because it's your body that's acting out. Because most people that I work with are not intentionally wanting to be ragers or manipulators, or they just don't want to be that anymore. So that's one of the base good perks of MACE, if that can be understood, that we're not going to ask you to explain what happened, because it doesn't matter. When something happened doesn't matter. The only thing, who was involved, the whole story, the narrative. We don't we don't need narrative. You already know the reactions that you have in life that you don't like. And as soon as you become aware that you're having a reaction or in a state that you would really not like to be in, and you want it to change, that's the power position. And the best part about MACE is we're not going to ask you what happened to you. Tell me what happened next. Who was involved? When was this? It's just simply, you have a feeling that happened during an upset, and it's been persistent ever since. We're just going to help you eliminate that trigger and put you back in control, so you're not, unintentionally hair or just flying off the handle or getting super depressed or super rage. You're just going to be able to go in the direction you want to go. Ideally, most of the time, whatever you specifically want to change is changed within the first session, most of the time. So that's just an introduction to what you kind of really need to know as to why we don't ask questions. Because we get it a lot. They're really confused. Why do I not have to tell my story? It's because you know what already bugs you, and that information is in you, and we just know how to get that out. So If you want to, if you have any reactions that you keep having and you don't like, and it results in any sort of behaviors that you don't like and thinking patterns you don't like, you already know what you don't like. You know why you called, and that's specifically what we deal with. So ideally, by the end of it, you're not having the same reaction. You can have a response. It's still your responsibility to put your life together, but that reaction isn't going to be there. So that's my something that I think would help, especially ragers that have some serious issues with rage and like, oh, I don't want to get into the touchy feely. It's like you're not going to have to explain anything. So if you want to add to that, feel free.
Yeah. One thing, one difference, one big, you're absolutely right about the intention. So the positive identity is something you do with intention. The negative identity happens without intention, happens really fast. One other thing that is a big difference between the two is not only intention, but also effort. So the positive identity is attained, is built up because of effort you put in.
Oh, yeah.
Put in effort to become a driver. You put in effort when you go to school. Being a student, that's a continuous effort that you have to maintain. Creating a negative identity in a moment of distress, in a moment of overwhelm, in a moment of panic, it happens really quick. You don't even notice it happening.
Right.
You don't even notice. So
Yeah, that's important too.
there is no intention, that's one, and there is no effort. But it does plant the seed to grow without you and without you knowing it. And then eventually, like you said, it can take over your life and you can identify with that identity and you think it's you. I am all, yeah, that's me. I always get in a rage. I always get like this. This is just who I am. No, it's not.
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's an identity because the real you is cool, calm, collected, loving, etc. That's the real you. But that gets just overshadowed and overgrown by this identity that is taken over your life. And sometimes we get clients that sort of think like, I'm almost sorry to get to leave this identity behind because it's been such a comfort zone. It's been so, I'm so used to doing this. This is the way this works for me. So far, I've been doing fine. Okay, I get mad, I get pissed off, I get, but that gets everybody out of my way.
Yeah.
But there are better strategies to go through life that are much more pleasant to experience for yourself and your surroundings and the people you love. And that would be, your example of a rage, would be that you don't react with rage, but you respond, maybe, let's say, with kindness or love or as the real you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you will connect with others on a completely different
Yeah.
level. And
Yeah.
that reinforces itself. And that's going to improve your life to no end.
Yeah, it's for the longest time. I used to believe that, well, this is the only way to get people to listen. This is the only way to get people out of my way, or to do what I tell them to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But it's like
right. Yeah.
and I really thought that that's the only way to do it,
Yeah,
especially
and it
when
did
it comes
work.
like, no, I mean, it
Yeah,
works to a certain
it works.
extent,
Of course it works.
but
Yeah, but you have to put in a lot of negative energy. You gotta keep, you just pound everybody out of
oh, it
your
doesn't
path.
work. It does not work at all.
No, no, no. You run aground at some point. You run aground
Yeah,
at
it
some
does
point.
not work. As for my
No,
own personal rage issues, it was I
no.
just, for some reason, it was lodged in my head like this is the only way to get
Mhm,
across to people. Of course,
mhm.
we all know where it comes from because let's be honest,
Sure.
everything starts in childhood. But at the
Most of them
same
do,
time,
yeah.
is the moment you recognize that I don't want to do this anymore.
Mm. Yeah.
The moment you recognize I don't want to do this anymore,
Right. Right.
I noticed that what I was doing was having a really negative effect. As much
Right.
as I thought, like, well, then you're just weak if you can't handle this. Like, no, you're not weak. It's like that's not the case. But
No.
to be able to just communicate
Yeah.
without all of that aggression is it's a
Hmm.
whole different world.
It's a
It's
completely
a
different approach.
completely different world. Not
Therefore,
have
also the response of others will be completely different. So it
way
will,
it's way different. Yeah.
and that
It's
will
way
also
different.
reinforce the way you
Yeah.
respond to them. And then you could all of a sudden you might find yourself having a conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
Rather than an argument.
Connecting, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Connecting to people. Okay, they may have a different view. You exchange, maybe you learn something,
Yeah.
maybe, and you don't have to agree necessarily, but you could say, okay, right, we can agree to disagree, or oh, maybe I'll think about this and I'll come back to you and then we'll talk some more.
Yeah,
But
I was really surprised after a bit how much I actually thought part of the only way to communicate was through force. It was just the
hmm,
weirdest thing. I was like, where the hell did I even get that from? Because it's just like I said, it's just such a habit. Like this, for
exactly.
me, the aggression was so natural. It was
Hmm,
just so natural.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
just, well, it's partially just
Therefore,
the
that's
environment you
exactly,
grow up
yeah.
in. It just
Yeah.
becomes part of you. And it's
Exactly,
so
exactly.
I
That's
didn't even realize that I thought that I'm not the
oh,
problem.
oh,
Everyone
oh,
else is just weak and pathetic and they just can't handle tough.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, right.
no, that what you're doing is completely unnecessary. Now,
Mhm.
when
And that's a
anybody's,
waste of energy because the amount of
Mhm.
energy you need for this aggressive identity, this
Oh,
negative
yeah.
identity with all its power and aggressiveness, and
But
that is
physically,
a ton of energy that goes in there.
yeah.
And to just clear the way for to get ahead.
Hmm. One
Now,
of the things that I've learned is the difference between control and how it's presented to us, or at least how I interpreted control. Control is like, I'm in control, I'm in charge, I'm you know, because I grew up in like, the self-help 80s and 90s, where it was
mhm.
all, control and take charge and the alpha. And it's like
Mhm. Mhm.
control and concept. But the difference between what I was interpreting as control, which means I'm always in charge. I gotta feel like I'm in charge. I gotta uh and the actual real control. It's completely an internal thing. It's the physical body is completely
Mhm.
settled. I can
Mhm.
say exactly what I need to say,
Yeah, yeah,
and the point gets across.
right.
Other people respond a much they just they have a much better response. The
Yes,
cooperation triples. It just more than
yes,
that. The cooperation is just through the roof rather
yeah,
than
yeah.
go get me that you little twit, it's just
Right, right, right.
that aggression, it was completely unnecessary.
You are on a spiraling up trajectory that way because
Hmm.
you're in a positive identity, and then
Yeah.
it just goes that way up instead of that way down real fast. So, and every time, you get on a better
Mhm.
level with people, you can connect to them, you can have a conversation,
It's
you
much
can
easier.
get something out of it yourself, you can grow, it opens up a whole
Hmm.
new
Yeah,
it
it really does.
it really
And
literally.
that idea of intentionally building a positive identity, it's just because I can remove all the negatives, but then and the responses are better.
Hmm.
And to take that effort, as you had said, it takes effort,
Yeah.
because it didn't, it's kind of just a more self-aware that
Hmm.
what I
Yeah.
am doing
Yeah.
does have an effect on other people.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's not a touchy-feely thing either. It's just a
No.
straight up,
No.
oh, the way that I said that, I got a reaction, you know,
Right.
it doesn't really work well, but now I say it this way and I get a totally different reaction.
Right.
So so the responses you get from other people become your feedback to help you build that. You need other people to give you feedback, because that negative,
Sure. Sure.
it's just like, but the difference is between having that negative identity there versus it's not there is I actually care about how they respond and react.
Right.
I
Exactly.
cared before, but I
Yeah.
thought I thought I was making them tough. I'm not. I'm still not touchy feely coddly, but
No.
it's just
No.
not a rage and anger.
But you
And
can still be a very strong and either masculine or
present,
whatever
yeah,
you are, and you can and care.
yeah.
And you can still be strong and you can be more complete person that way.
Mhm. It's
And
not inflated.
that shows exactly. It's not inflated with
It's a,
that people can just, it's like you're running out with a big balloon
oh
in
my
front of you.
gosh, yeah.
Everybody can just prick through and it will
That's
be
exactly because that hair trigger temper. Oh, I have a hair
okay.
trigger temper. I used to be
Yeah,
like, I have a hair trigger temper. I'll rip your face off. Ha ha ha. It's like,
yeah,
no,
right.
that's just a giant inflated ego. And when somebody poked it, that's when I
Yeah,
exploded. So it's
yeah,
your hair trigger temper, we'll just call it a negative identity because we don't want to get into, well, your ego is kind of inflated and somebody poked your ego. And that really, it hurts. But, that's a whole other way to look at it. But that negative identity, because he accidentally created something
yeah,
happened in life that caused it
right.
to register that
Yeah,
this is to get this rage filled. This is what I have to do to survive.
yeah,
And
exactly. That was it.
that's
That
just,
was it.
just
Just to
that's
get through
why
the day,
there's
make it through the day.
just make
Yeah,
it through the day. That's the
yeah,
same thing as even if somebody goes into like a depression, that's somehow it registers during those upsets that negative
sure.
identity is created to
Yeah,
either go into a depression
yeah.
or a nagging or a completely irate. Any
Whatever it
reaction that
is,
you don't
whatever
like,
it is. Yes.
it's you very quickly unknowingly creating that system, that identity that acts out every time
Hmm.
after the first one.
Hmm.
It's like the ruin, because that ruin is something usually in people's lives. Something usually happens and it's a massive thing and it just changes everything about their life since that
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
And we
it's
all know
it's
these
in
people. We
those
all know
moments.
these kind of people with a big negative identity. We all have that colleague or family member or friend
Or myself.
or
It's like,
yourself. Well,
yeah.
yeah, why
It's like,
not?
well, that's the
But
best
it's
place.
easier to see it in others. And
Mhm.
get somebody who gets irate get blows up out of nowhere every time.
Yeah.
For to keep using this example, everybody sees it. Everybody except that person itself. And
Yeah.
the time becomes ripe and it gets so much in your way that you decide no more.
My turning point was when it finally clicked that I was doing damage.
Hmm.
Because before it was just weak little punks.
Right, right.
No, wait a minute. I don't know. That's actually doing damage.
Hmm.
This screaming and yelling and throwing things.
Yeah.
These are kids. I mean, small kids and their mind,
Yeah, right.
It's like I don't want them weak in this mean world. It's like, yeah, you don't have to. I don't
Yeah.
have to do
There's
that.
different ways of
It's
dealing
completely unnecessary.
of
The way I
making
talk to,
whole persons. Yeah.
yeah, it's like the whole person. They're not there to serve my ego.
Exactly.
They're not there to serve my ego. But I did. I had to realize that I was actually doing damage. But
Hmm.
because that blind rage, you know,
Yeah.
when we get to that, we're so well, it's been a habit for so long,
Well, that's
especially for an older.
exactly.
It's
And
been a
then,
habit for so
yeah,
long that
yeah,
I have to protect myself. And so one of
yeah,
the best ways to protect yourself is to be super rage
hmm,
or somewhat nuts, because
right,
it's a repellent. I don't want to deal with people. And so
exactly.
rage does it. You don't deal with
Yeah,
people when you're
you
constantly
blow them out of
raging.
the way. You blow
Yeah.
them out of your way. Yeah,
Yeah. Even deep
yeah,
depression is a way to just keep people at bay. It's actually part of it's just an
sure.
excuse to keep people at bay.
It's just the inverted way because you
It's
go inside and you
turning
become
into,
aggressive to the
yeah.
inside. It's aggression turned inside.
Yeah.
So and therefore you're not reached anymore because you're inside with your depression.
Yeah, it's just
It's
me, and
myself,
there in
but
my anger or my depression.
there's nobody else around. So I'm not having a conversation anymore or having a
Yeah.
meaningful exchange.
Then you just wind up spinning, and you're the only conversation you
Right.
have.
Yeah.
There's nobody, nobody, you know, it's like you have to decide to get out of the cycle. You have to
Mm,
decide, like,
good,
I
good.
just, I, and it's not such a, you don't even have to, oh, as far as Mace also, too, there's no real preparation except for just recognize what you really want to change.
Hmm. Yes, exactly.
and
Exactly.
and once you recognize what you want to change, so you realize, well, I actually do have an X problem, I have this problem, whatever it is. Once you recognize it and you notice that there's somewhat of a pattern there, and it's and even if you don't like, I don't know if anything's going to work, if you have just enough, like, I'll give it a shot. That's another thing too, is
Mhm.
you don't need to fully buy in as far as what you believe. Just buy in as far as, I want it to change and I'm willing to follow direction.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of doubt this, but I will follow directions. I'll do exactly what you say,
Yeah.
because, you know, I don't want to keep screaming at my kids. I don't want to keep laying in
Exactly.
bed all day. I don't want to
Right.
keep smashing things. I don't want to keep just unnecessarily being a douchebag. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's what I
Yeah.
had to realize. You
Whatever
know,
that douchebag is, whether it's smashing
whatever it is.
or shutting
Yeah.
up and going inside, becoming depressive,
Yeah.
not being reached by anyone,
And it's
or
the opposite too. I don't want to
um,
keep being so nice to my own detriment.
no.
I don't want
Yeah.
to keep
Right.
being so
Oh,
pleasing. Right.
yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
all kinds of spectrum. It
Giving up
really is.
giving up yourself completely by being nice to others at your own detriment, as you
Or I
say.
want to stop having those flashbacks. I want to stop having these nightmares. I want to stop
Exactly.
panicking when I see a dog or an elevator or something.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to stop doing bad things.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
we really just make the decision, like, yeah, I want that to change, and just be willing to follow along, just be willing to
Mhm.
follow
Yeah.
direction, because we're
Yeah.
not going to ask what happened, what did whoever say this,
No, 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 no.
and
Because
this
that
is
is only because then if we would do that, and that the point you made earlier, where we're saying that people ask about why don't you want to know what happened, right? Because if we start talking to this negative identity, we just feed it. We
oh
just
yeah,
build it up. We just make it bigger, and we just give it attention. No,
oh
we
yeah, we
don't.
do.
We actually don't. We just dig around the root. We found the root and we cut it off there,
Yep.
and in a very efficient way, very easily, no
Easy.
pain felt, and we know what we do, and we know it
Mhm.
works because
Well, there
we've been
again,
through it. You've been through it.
I've
I've
been
been
through
through
it.
it,
Yeah.
and we have
Like, oh,
countless clients that will testify to the same.
mhm. That's one thing I really wanted people to know, is they are actually, the moment they decide to book an appointment with a Mace, is they're already in the power position,
Hmm.
which they've discovered something that they do not like about
Yeah,
themselves. They wanted
exactly.
to change, but
Right.
they wanted to change for themselves. Can't do
Right.
anybody else, right?
Hmm.
You wanted to change. You want to stop the rage outbursts or the depressive
Right.
episodes, the
Right.
compulsive behaviors, addictions, all that.
Yeah.
and you're willing to just follow along.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
just follow along. I tell my clients, I'm going to do about 95% of the talking.
Yes, I do
I,
too. Yeah.
I tell them right up front,
I'll be
I'm going to,
talking, not you. Yeah,
because
right.
you know what you want to get rid of. You already know. You already
Mm,
know. You
yeah,
have an intuition. You have an inner knowing.
right.
We know how to trust you to help put your attention where it needs to
Right.
be.
Right. Yeah.
Just literally, even if you're like, yeah, what the hell ever, follow along. Just give it your follow along.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't don't
Yeah.
argue with the process, because that'll
No,
I'll shut it off.
exactly.
I just like,
Yeah.
I'm not arguing process. This works. And so yeah, just make that decision to whatever you want to change
Yeah.
and just follow
Exactly.
along.
You're spot on with that.
Yeah.
That is the big thing because why have you made that decision? Because that negative identity, it just doesn't work for you anymore.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it has outlived its sell by date.
Yeah.
And
Well, the funny thing
yeah,
is the sell
yeah,
by date was literally the next day.
yeah, right. But
But because we're around other people, they
yeah,
blame you and scold you for what you did wrong rather than
exactly.
help you reset. Imagine if you were 2 years old and 4 or 5 years old and a parent knew how to help you set your nervous system, reset it, and
Mhm.
and have you go through that as a child to understand, like, no, this is your physical body, this is how it
Yeah,
works. Your your senses work. So
no, no, that's
and
true.
and
That's
part of it
right.
is too is
Yeah,
part of that just follow along is because you're going to learn something new.
yeah,
And if you
yeah,
already knew what we're going to teach you, you wouldn't
yeah.
be here, you know? So
Oh, exactly.
just follow along.
And I'm sure
Yeah.
you do the same, Eric, that when I start a session first time, but actually every time with a client, is I get into it right away.
I
There's
do
no
too.
there's no
I
chit chat.
just right
There's
in.
there's no niceties or anything. I do that at the end because
Yeah.
the client comes in and is already in that negative identity.
Yeah, you're in it.
I'm not giving it any
Yeah.
attention whatsoever. So I explain things. I talk about this is the way we do it. This is how MACE works. This is what identities are, etc., etc. And then we do the exercises.
Mm.
But and the whole structured approach that we have, which we
It's
know
a
works.
really good, it's nice
Yeah.
structure. Really good
And
structure.
I just go ahead with it and I don't start talking to the identity because that identity is going to be gone anyway
Part of
within
it too,
a
yeah. It's
short
like,
amount of
why
time.
don't you talk about it? It's like, if talking about it worked,
Yeah.
you've talked about it in your own head and with others since it started.
Yeah.
If
Right.
talking about it worked,
Mhm.
it would have dissipated already. It wouldn't be
Yes,
there
exactly.
anymore.
Exactly.
You
But
know,
talking is
it
giving energy.
gives it, triggers it, opens it up,
Yeah, opens
lets it
it up,
live
it
again.
feeds it, it will give it opportunity to
Yeah.
act out, to dramatize, to go ahead and get angry if you say the wrong word. Wow,
Hmm.
it will just blow up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to keep with this example, or
Yeah.
whatever, whatever the reaction of whatever the identity, the negative identity would be. It could be
Yeah.
anything.
You just notice things about yourself that you do not like, that you
Mhm.
want it to change.
Right?
Some of them are more obvious. People have been through some horrendous stuff. They've been through some
Oh,
really
yeah.
bad experiences
Mhm.
since childhood, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
certain people, they can't look at somebody that looks a certain way because it triggers something. No, that too. But
Mhm.
just everyone, you kind of know what reactions you don't like. You
Yeah,
make the decision to change it. You make the
yeah,
decision that you're gonna follow along,
right. That's
and
all we
we're
need.
not gonna ask. So
No,
there's no explaining your position. You don't
no,
have to justify what somebody else did, and you don't
no,
have to justify or explain or judge what you did either.
no,
Sometimes
no,
it's us that, like,
no,
I'm the one that did a bad thing and it's
because
weighing on
we,
me. It's just
no, no,
eating
no,
me alive.
because we don't judge. We're not judgmental.
No, it's
That's
everything is survival. It all drives back to survival is the explanation.
exactly, exactly.
And unknowingly, in a
Hmm.
moment of stress or a traumatic,
Right.
creating a negative identity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
But it could be, like you said, it could be a really big stressful event. Uh,
Mhm.
really that everybody recognizes as a big stressful event. But it could also be something inconspicuous. But for
Sometimes,
you, sometimes for you, it
oh,
had a massive impact.
like
Like,
no one else. Yeah,
yeah,
that
like
is an important
your
thing too.
yeah, your
Yeah.
father saying something to you,
He only said it once,
your
but man,
mom
he
or
said it
your
as.
brother or your sister coming
Mhm.
with, you know, that really takes you from right up there and smashes you down. That
Mhm.
really cuts you completely. And everybody was like, well, this wasn't bad. He just said this or she just
Yeah,
said that. But for you, the
yeah, it's a
impact
personal deal.
was shattering.
Hmm.
And that could live on from there on in and become a negative identity.
You know, it doesn't take much sometimes. It
No,
just takes
exactly.
it. It
Uh,
just if because sometimes you know
because the
someone will come
trauma,
into a session, not they'll
yeah,
have a really good idea of like this wants to change, and then it'll wind up being something completely unexpected that
yep, yep,
caused all of this reactions. Like, wow, I
yeah,
didn't see it.
right.
So,
A lot of times, it usually is actually,
yeah,
usually is. Yeah.
but
Even it can even be in and around the same event, but it's just adjacent to where you thought it was.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So that's it. That's quite interesting to see. Yeah.
But that's all I really wanted to make a little video about was just a negative identity is basically it's an unintended creation of one's own creation,
Hmm.
which is the place it's the power position because you wouldn't intentionally do it. And that's another reason why we don't ask you to explain, because it was an accident. It was completely accidental. All of the reactions is completely accidental. High stress, a moment where you had to make a decision, and there's no need to explain. It was all
No,
survival, all due
right,
to lack of experience, lack of knowledge, unknowingly created something. It
right.
helped you survive. So the
It did.
identity says, I must live to help you survive.
Yes,
And it just becomes, it's not even really, we don't, it just doesn't work anymore. It worked for the moment.
yes, it did.
It helped you survive the
It got you through the
moments.
day.
And that's another, that's why we don't chastise anything. Well, that was stupid. Why did you do that?
No,
And you don't
no,
even have to chastise yourself. It's just, I was
because
in
you
such a
didn't
high
do it.
stress.
You
Yeah,
didn't
because
do
you didn't do
anything.
anything wrong.
It
You
it happens on
survived.
a subconscious
Yeah.
level.
The
You
only
didn't
thing
do
you
it.
did,
You didn't work at this.
yeah. It was like there was a moment of overwhelm. You
Right,
accidentally
right.
created a monster, but that monster
Yeah.
helped you survive. So we're not
Hmm.
even going to ask, you don't even have to chastise the thing,
No,
You don't have to. Or
no.
chastise, but
Yeah.
you don't have to. There's no berating it. There's no
Um,
explaining or justifying or judging or negotiating with this monster you've created to help you
well,
survive. It's like,
we just get down to business. We
we
get
just
rid
get
of the
right down
monster.
to business. You created it, and
Yeah, you
you
created
created it.
it.
So
You
we're going to
created it.
show you
We'll
how to.
identify it, and we'll
Boom.
get it out of here
Yeah.
in no time.
And
Yeah.
that's the power position is because they themselves, like I created mine accidentally, and
Mhm.
they caused a lot of damage. But
Oh
once
yeah.
like, oh, I did it. It was an accident. Yeah, it was an accident. Like
Sure.
you did it. But because you did it, you're the only one that can undo it. You're gonna need help. And
No,
it's not that difficult.
no,
You're just
no.
gonna boop, and
Very easy actually, but
it's
it
really
needs
easy. Really
it's
easy.
really easy. It needs a
It really
professional
is. Yep.
to take care of it and make sure it happens completely and fully
Oh,
and
there's
nothing
definitely a
is left.
process. But yeah.
Sure, but it's dead easy. It's dead
Yeah.
easy.
And
Right.
that's for anything PTSD. I've worked with
Mhm.
suicidals. I've worked with
Right.
cocaine. I've worked with weed. They're all done.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't have nightmares
Overeating,
anymore. They don't do coke anymore.
drinking.
They don't
Uh,
have the flashbacks from things that happened in their childhood.
right.
It doesn't. It just turns it off. It just
Right.
turns it off, and then
Yeah.
you get to build yourself the way that you want to build yourself after that,
Yeah. Yeah. And
because
there's
they're not. giving all
Yeah.
your attention to this
Uh,
negative identities.
exactly. And one thing I think we haven't mentioned here in this conversation is that you free up a lot of energy that
Hmm.
you can use in a positive way, and that you can use to, like you say, build up your new positive identity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of energy available now that is not wasted on these
It
negative.
really does, because all this
That
energy,
would
if that thing
happen.
gets triggered, and you're off in, I was off
And
in
there you
crazy
go.
land.
Right, right.
All the energy that I was using,
Mm.
smashing things, all the energy I was
Oh,
using, yelling and just
yeah,
berating in that
right.
physical adrenaline rush of rage, right? All of that can go where I want it to go now.
Yes.
It's
Put
just,
it to good
oh,
use.
I could
Yeah,
put all of that to good use.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
all energy,
Right.
but it's accidentally just feeding this monster. It's like,
Yes, yes.
no. So
Yeah,
all of that,
right.
you rage out for 10 minutes and all that energy and just
Liberating.
or longer.
Liberating all that good
It's
energy.
like all that doesn't trigger. That's a lot of energy
Hmm.
that you're
Exactly.
exactly right. You can put that where you want it to go because
Right.
you're not doing damage control. I was doing damage control all the time.
Sure. Yeah.
My own, like, oh my God, are you okay? And now it's like, oh my God. Now I'm,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to do
Right.
this. So, but that's a good point. You do free up all of that, all of that
Hmm.
attention that was put towards those negative feelings and thoughts and acting out. You put it where you want to. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. I think, yeah.
All right, Eric.
All right, Christian, I think that'll do. Well,
Okay.
once that, I'll just hit stop recording.
Okay.
That way we can make sure that's done and then we can